feeling I can't describe what it is to be alive, and no matter how I try, it escapes me. Heart set afire, glowing, crackling wild. This stops me in my tracks, yeah, it wakes me, and I say, took a moment just for me, and hell, it felt like eternity. The grass had never looked so good on both sides of the street. All the facts were still the same, but just a whole lot less like shame. And I fell in love with the rough spots on my face and feet.
Welcome to our service on this first Sunday in the new year of 2021. I'm Donna Zimmerman, your worship leader, and I use the pronouns she and her. For the health and safety of all, our services continue to be virtual. Instead of our lovely church sanctuary, our space is now a digital screen. But that doesn't prevent us from being a congregation, a community, a circle of support and friendship. We have many resources available to you. Zoom meetings, adult and children's education classes, virtual get-togethers for socializing, and many more. Please check out our church calendar on our website, bbuuc.org, to see the many opportunities for connecting with the church and your fellow members. And visit the Unitarian Universalist website, uua.org, to find out more about this denomination that goes back through the centuries and yet remains relevant and current to meet the needs of our times. And lastly, at 11:30 on Sunday mornings, we have our traditional fellowship time in a very non-traditional way. We will meet live, and our guest minister, Reverend Erin, will be present to discuss her sermon, followed by fellowship time with other members. Thank you for joining with us today.
Our chalice lighting is adapted from the words of Deborah Burrell. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. As this new year begins, may our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Erin Walter, and I'm so delighted to be with you today, even across the miles. I bring you warm greetings from Austin, Texas, from Wildflower UU Church, which I serve as the affiliated community minister. And I come to you from the sparkle of my daughter's bedroom, which has the best Wi-Fi and the best spirit in the house. Anywhere can be church. We've discovered that this year. It's been difficult, but it's also reassuring to know that we are still coming together in the ways that we can. Our call to worship words this morning come from Elandria or E. Williams. E served as the co-moderator of our Unitarian Universalist Association from August 2017 to June 2020, and sadly died in 2020 at the far too young age of 41. E was a Black UU leader of great esteem, someone who brought a joyous presence, indomitable force to all that they did. And so if the name Elandria Williams is new to you, I encourage you to look them up after this service. Our excerpt comes from We Are Worthy, and we thank E for the legacy of their wisdom. We are worthy, not because of what we produce, but because of who we are. We are divine bodies of light and darkness. You are not worthy because of what you offer, not because of what is in your mind, not for the support you give others, not for what you give at all. We are worthy and are whole just because. Welcome to worship. So, I like to call what you're about to see and hear an anthem for all ages. You're going to see my community in this next video. People of all ages joyfully making music, dancing, bubbles, wigs, trampolines, even a roller coaster. Keep your eyes peeled for all the little sources of joy in just 3 minutes. In a glimpse of daily life. This song is one that I wrote before the pandemic, and it talks about how there can be great struggle and great beauty and love at once. The world is on fire, literally and figuratively, and we still fall in love. We still have joy and laughter. And so that is what I've been grappling with all year. And the video that you're going to see is my family in my home, my messy as it is home. It was the very last gathering that we had before the pandemic shut down in March. I invited all of our friends from the neighborhood into the home, and we had a fun party for all ages and videoed it for this music video. And there's so much life in the kids, especially. So I want to invite you to think about, have you been reaching out to the families in your neighborhood? Have you been inviting the kids and the families that you know to come to church online, to be part of this community online? It's an amazing silver lining that we can reach out to new people and make things accessible. When I watch this video, I get a little choked up thinking about what we're fighting for by continuing to stay home, by getting vaccines, by wearing masks, practicing social distance still after all this time. But I watch this and I remember what we're fighting for and what it's going to feel like, the joy when we can be together again. So I hope you enjoy this song. Sing along and dance in your chair. Get up and move. Rise in body or spirit as you would if you were in the sanctuary. And remember that your community is still there, even if you're not together in the same way. And we will be together again. Maybe spot some little elements of fun and remember to add them to your life in 2021. Bubbles, wigs, twister, whatever you can do for more joy. Let's rock out.
It's a hard time to look for hope when the truth can't feel like a joke or worse. They tell you it's your fault if you trust. But there's one thing I know, it's this: opposites do coexist, and the last thing they'll ever kill is love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we're not giving up. No, no, I could let you go, saying it's not worth it. Oh, I could give up before we know. And what's the use in having hope? And even though everything's wrong and it shows, I still look at you and I know one thing could be perfect. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we're not giving up. No, no. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we're not giving up. No, no. I don't wanna be naive, but I catch myself wanting to believe, and I think I could take a risk this time. It's a hard time to look for hope when the truth can feel like a joke or worse. They tell you it's your fault if you try. World's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we're not giving up. No, no. The world's on
At this time in our service, we share our joys and our triumphs, our sorrows and our broken places. In this circle of care, we make space for the complexity of life, the many experiences that both bless and break our hearts. The truth of human experience dictates that on any given day, we each come to the table with our hearts in different places. We light our first candle for Tyler K., who was diagnosed with COVID last week, but is doing well according to his mother, Mary Ann K. A candle of continued care and gratitude for Debbie J., who is up and around and coping with her recovery from surgery on her shoulder. A flame of concern for Lucy W., who had surgery last Wednesday. Please hold her in your hearts and send her a card. We light celebration candles for this week's birthdays, beginning with one from last week that we overlooked. Happy belated birthday to Job M., who celebrated on January 1. Another birthday flame for Joseph C., who has his special day on Monday, January 4. A flame of gratitude for help with the Caring Committee holiday baskets for bakers Claire G., Eileen M., Lynn W., Karen C., and Liz B. For knitters, Liz S., Diane F., Ellen M., Pam R., Tara C., and for candy, Debbie J. And our thanks for Helen M. for help with delivering. Be assured you all brought joy to many. A candle of relief that 2020 is over and hope for the year 2021. And a final candle for the unspoken prayers that live in the silent sanctuary of our hearts.
Hello, you family. I'm going to sing a song with you called Shine on Me. It's an amazing spiritual that anybody can sing. And in these days when the things that we're dealing with, the feeling separate and all of that, and things seem so hard, this is one of those songs that you just throw your head back, put it in your medicine kit. All you have to do is ask. And here's how it goes. Shine on me, oh shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, oh shine on me, yes shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Lift me up, oh, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, lift me up, yes, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, hold me close, yes, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse hold me close. Yes, hold me close. Oh, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse, please, hold me close. Oh, shine on me, yes, Yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Oh, shine on me. Yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. All you have to do is just ask. The light is always there. Always. Always. Oh, yeah.
Giving is a sacred thing because it is a free choice of our heart, not an obligation. This tangible act shows we put our money where our values are. Thank you for your ongoing support of your pledge to this church, for the continuation of our ministries within the congregation and to the community. And the plate collection for the month of January will go to Feeding Northeast Florida. They rescue high-quality food from local grocery stores, farms, and manufacturers to help children and families, seniors, and retired military members. They also connect these same folks to a network of over 250 social service agencies and programs that provides other services to help end the cycle of poverty in our community. Thank you for your generosity. You'll find the link on our YouTube page to make a direct donation to this important fund. Reverend Erin J. Walter is a community minister, nonprofit director, writer, and musician based in Austin, Texas. Her work is rooted in powerful connection between the arts, justice movements, and multicultural communities. Reverend Erin has chosen diverse music for this service, from a spiritual to a choral hymn to some rock and roll. In the prelude in the Time for All Ages, you heard her voice and lyrics in the music of her band, Parker Woodland, whose debut album comes out this month. The pulpit is yours, Reverend Erin.
What a gift to look forward into this new year with you. I'd like to start with the wise words of Indian author and activist Arundhati Roy. Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our databanks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world, and ready to fight for it. So today, I invite you to think about how we might come into this year a little bit lighter and what we are ready to fight for. It was a very hard 2020 for me. My whole life, my ministry and everything I'm about is about bringing people together in person for joy. Teaching dance classes, being a chaplain for a YMCA, playing in bands, bringing people together for shows, the list goes on. And of course, church. Everything that I loved had to take a break this year or this past year or go online. And it was very hard. There was a lot of grief. My YMCA job was eliminated along with many others when the organization could not afford to pay its staff. So I am looking into 2021, wondering what to take from the learning of that hard year. And I know you may be too. And so one of the things that I do when I'm counseling folks who are struggling, and so I turn this on myself as well and I share it with you, is I ask, when times have been hard before, what has gotten you through? And the only time that I've ever experienced quite the epic grief and complete portal shift into a new way of living, other than 2020, was the year that my father died unexpectedly when I was a young adult. He was very healthy and life was good, and then everything changed. He had a heart attack and was in the hospital for a few days before we had to let him go. But in that time, what was so amazing, what makes it a portal, is that there was still so much joy, little things. And it seems almost strange to say, but in the greatest grief, we still found ways as a family to laugh and to celebrate. And so I want to share a few of those things that I remember and what they teach me for community, for the way I want to live. And I hope there'll be something in there for you too. And then I'm going to invite you to think about the things that are going to bring you joy this year and how you're going to share them. So from that year, I remember the way my stepmom invited my mom into a circle of holding hands in the hospital waiting room, where we would speak our willingness to let go, and so that no one would be left out, despite the conflicts and the pain that any family may have. I remember that invitation to bring her in and what it meant to me as a daughter. I remember my stepsister's aunt, who brought me new flip-flops in the hospital waiting room. A very small gesture, but one I'll never forget, because she said to me, "I saw how you've worn out your shoes and how much you love them, and I wanted to get you new ones." And I tell you, she knelt down at my feet during that time of grief. And I always remember the story, the image of Jesus washing people's feet, how sacred to be at someone's feet in that tender way. And she gave me these new shoes. And it wasn't the shoes themselves so much as the noticing, that she had noticed the things that comforted me and brought me delight. And I want us all to be noticing the little things for each other when we can during this difficult time. Of course, I remember all the friends who sat with us, but especially the man who drove an hour from the small town where my father lived to the city hospital. This was a man who changed the oil in my father's truck ever so often, yet they knew each other well enough by name that word had gotten back to him, and he came to Austin to tell us what a good man my father was, and to pray and to wish us healing. I thought, I want that kind of life, with roots, where we know each other by name, workers, and all of us, even when we just see each other every now and then. I want to be that kind of church, too. I remember crying in the chapel of the hospital. This is long before I was a minister. And being held in a circle of love by people from all different faith backgrounds. A minister with a very different faith and cultural background than mine. And just feeling so held in their love. And knowing that what we believed about where my father was going or what would happen in death was not what was important. That love was important. And lastly, I remember country music, fishing stories, and barbecue smells, all of which we brought into my father's hospital room in the hopes that they would bring him back to life. that he would smell the barbecue, he would hear the Merle Haggard, he would hear my laughter talking about what it was like to fish with him, and that would do the trick. It didn't, but those things still bring me back to life, and they bring his memory to me. We have lost so many people and so much to this pandemic, and there has been a lot to remember. I pray that we go into this year with some of the lessons that I still remember from that hard time, that we notice each other and make small gifts of care, that we show up, that we go the extra mile, even if it requires a mask, even if it means we stand at a distance, but we show up for each other. That in this coming year, we invite people in despite conflict. We give each other a chance to make amends, to have accountability. That we invite people in that we might not know well, that we might not agree with theology, but we find a way. I pray we find a way this year. And that there be music, that there be food, that there be delights to get us through. There's a piece of scripture that's very sacred to me, and I want to share it with you. I use the Poverty and Justice edition of the Bible, and if the Bible is not something you're using a lot right now, many of you use, this isn't, our number one text, and for some of us it is, but if you would be interested in one, I highly recommend the Poverty and Justice Bible edition. I heard that the Reverend Dr. William Barber used it, and so this is the one I picked up, and here's what's cool about it. There are sections already highlighted. I love to highlight books, but I didn't do this. This book comes highlighted with passages that relate to poverty and justice. And I have no worry or fear that you, as you use, do not care about those topics. So I commend this edition to you. But the part that I want to read to you today is one that came into my life in seminary and really just spoke so much to me. And the chapter is called The Song of Miriam, which gives you a little hint as a musician what I'm going to connect to here. But it's from Exodus. And the feminist scholar Carol Myers has suggested that Exodus might be the most important book of the Bible. And I think that probably all of us can relate on some level to this story. The Israelites are coming from slavery through the promised land, to the promised land, through wilderness, through desert, great struggle, a long journey. They don't know how long it's going to take, and they don't know what it's going to be like when they get there. Now, certainly, some of us have direct ancestral and personal relationship to slavery. Others of us may not, but may understand the experience that we are feeling right now in a pandemic, multiple pandemics of course, COVID-19, but also state violence, environmental degradation. We are in a wilderness as a society to figure out how to move ourselves into something more blessed and divine. So here in the Song of Miriam, verse 19, it says, "The Israelites had walked safely through on dry ground. Miriam, the sister of Erin, was a prophet. So she took her tambourine and led the other women out to play their tambourines and to dance. Then she sang to them." This message that at a time when the Israelites could take probably very little in this story, what could they have been carrying with them? Not much for this long and hard journey. And yet Miriam, who is a prophet, brought a tambourine, and the other women brought tambourines. Now, I heard in our Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's acceptance speech talking about a return to joy. And many of us who have celebrated the smashing of that glass ceiling of gender felt that return to joy. And for me, music and dance are how I express that joy. I invite you to think about what your tambourine is. Miriam has her tambourine. What is your instrument of joy? And how are you going to use it to get you through hard times? Now, what I love especially about this translation here is that it says, Miriam, the sister of Erin, was a prophet, so she took her tambourine. That 2-letter word, so important. It's not Miriam was a prophet, but they tolerated her tambourine. Not Miriam was a prophet but she had a tambourine. Miriam was a prophet, so she had a tambourine. So they sang, so they danced. That joy practice, that music, that dancing was central to her prophetic life. And I believe that each of us has a prophetic life to live. And we, especially as Unitarian Universalists during this time, have a lot to offer. And yes, it is a hard time. And yes, we are going to need to acknowledge all that is a struggle. But without joy, without our instruments of delight, of resilience, of getting through, I don't know how to do it. We need them. So I really implore you to think about your instrument. What is your tambourine? Like the memories that I have from the time by my father's bedside, I hope for you to be able to look back on 2020 and say, would I have wanted this pandemic? Never. And here are the things that I am learning from it. Here are the ways I will honor the many lives we've lost, the ways of being that we've put on hold. Here are the ways that I will love my neighbor, that I will notice and invite people in. I want to ask you to invite people to church. Things are accessible now more than ever, more than they may be again. This is your chance. People need a community of love, of interconnectedness, a community that will notice them, that will say you are welcome here, whatever your belief, whatever your background, whoever you love. Believe it or not, many people out there have not received that message yet. They are waiting to hear it from you. Come with your tambourine or whatever instrument of inclusion and joy you have. And let this be the year, as my lamp goes out, let this be the year that we are a light for others. Blessed be. And I wish you a healthy, happy, music-filled year ahead.
Listen to the words of Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less. It becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all our lives and sharing it with the world.
For our benediction today, I invite you to reach out your hands. If you have someone with you safely in your space and they are willing, I invite you all to hold hands. We have learned in the past year what an incredible gift, not to be taken for granted, that it is to hold hands. And if you're alone this morning, I invite you to imagine whose hand you're going to hold when we are back together again. And remember, we will be together again. Spirit of life and love, divine of many names and great mystery, I give thanks for this day. I give thanks for the opportunities to learn from such a difficult year behind us. I give thanks for the hope and the purpose that is ahead of us, for this community and the ways that they have stayed together and supported each other. May we know the fullness of love, the interconnectedness of all life. May it encircle us and help us move into this new year with an eye toward joy and beauty, toward compassion and grace for others and for ourselves. Amen. And blessed be. Go in love, and I hope to see you again.